What we are trying to look at during this session is the role of social media and what do they have to play during and after the catastrophic events. In this session we will hear from eyewitnesses and social media experts on the assessment of social media and its future within the emergency management domain. So a very important subject and a very difficult task for me to moderate all this. So I'll ask immediately next to me, Benjamin, tell us the story at that day. Start with what happened briefly and also tell us about the famous Twitter. Can we have the microphones? Sorry. You got it? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. So, to make the big story pretty short, I was at the end of the room in the Bataclan, and after a small hour of concert, three men entered, in the room, because I was a really lucky one. I was actually 2 meters from them in the beginning, so they start to shoot at everyone around me. I fell because of all the party falling and everything. And when I finally succeeded to stand up, I tried to get out of the line of fire, and as fast as I could, so I didn't reach the emergency exit. I went to the first door I could find, which was just next to the bar, was leading to the first floor, and where I tried to escape. But I arrived in the dead end, which was actually the toilets, and some people were already hiding there, and after a few seconds I realized that we should move, because we were stuck here. And they will just find us at some point. So I told everyone to move out, and when we finally decided to move out of the bathroom, I went out of the small corridor, and I finally fell in front of the two of the terrorists who were actually reaching the first floor. One of them just told me that I should not escape, that he would not kill me, which actually I laughed about. I was maybe a bit surprised and tensed. And so I just turned my back, start to jump from where I was going, and of course they start to shoot. They shot the girl who was next to me, who escaped with me from the bathroom. I got the chance to pull her with me, and we ended up in the bathroom again. Just shut the door after me and hold it so the guy could not get into it. But luckily they were not really into following us, so they went to the balcony and started to shoot everyone from the balcony, but I didn't know it, so I was just in the bathroom, and I started to just try to protect us by breaking all the lights in the small room. We were 6, it was a really tiny room, 2 meters square, so I started to break every lights and to destroy the ceiling to try to escape, but we couldn't, so the idea was just to then hold the door and wait for them to arrive and maybe to fight, or just try to...
Yeah. Was that when you wrote?
No, that's the thing. They have been shooting for maybe 50 minutes, almost non-stop. And when finally, after an hour, one of the cops got in, I didn't know exactly what was happening, of course, but then the shooting stopped. And for when I couldn't just focus on something else, on just saving the light, watching at the door, I decided to turn on my phone, because I asked everyone to turn off the phone, because we had to be silent, we could hear them, they are really close to us shooting at people. So I asked everyone to shut down the phones, but I just turned mine again to be able to send this message to ask the police to launch the attacks, because I was pretty sure that it was not a matter of negotiation or hostage situation. They were just here to kill as much people as they could. And the thing I was with somebody who was injured, so when I'm saying badly injured, it's the woman I'm with, I'm talking about. And we tried in the beginning, in the first minutes, to call the police, but nobody could remember the number. And when we finally did, I think it was too late, because we could hear them behind the door, so I was more focused on guarding the door more than calling the police or whatever. And we had to be silent again, so I used this to be as efficient as I could. I thought that for sure one of my friends could see it, and my account is private, so nobody can see it, but the post was public, so I knew that somebody could share it. I didn't expect it to be that much shared, but yeah, and then the police tried to contact me, but my phone was off, so...
Thank you very much. I cannot, this is very intense, as you can see. But I'd like to point out, 2 conferences ago, I had the privilege of sitting right next to Tore Bekeda, a survivor from the Utoya Island in Norway. He was also safe because he happened to be in the toilet. An interesting thing there. If you're a bit outside, you might be lucky, but it's all a matter of timing. Let's hear from another survivor through video this time. Caroline Laglade, also a survivor from the attack at Bataclan concert hall, and a vice president of Life from Paris Association, who was formed immediately after that. Can we have the video, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Caroline, the Life for Paris VP. I take my note because my English is not very good. On the night of the 13th, 40 of us got in the room backstage. On the door was shut, I clearly remember myself dialing the 18 to call the police. Then I realized it was the fire department's number. And then, in the middle of all this craziness, it was impossible to remember the police number. I asked everyone around me, and it took some before someone remembered the number and yelled it to me. Unfortunately, the network were down and the call did not make it through. I had to call my mom so that she could contact the Nancy police, so that the local police could channel the information to the police in Paris. When I called the police again directly, we were all as silent as possible because of the terrorist behind the door. I then faced a new problem. I could not talk loud enough to be heard from the policewoman on the phone. Standing next to me were foreigners who did not speak French, did not know the emergency numbers, and were completely reliant on others to give any information in this vital emergency situation. That night, 112 numbers would have been useful on many aspects. A unique number who can process the information and pass it to the most adequate people. The possibility to rely on the national emergency network to avoid the network congestion, but also the possibility to reach 112 numbers by SMS, or the possibility to speak to someone understanding their language for foreigners. Our association, Life for Paris, supports the introduction of a unique emergency number and joins the 112 Numbers Association in this process. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Another very interesting, yes. Another very interesting first-hand witness. We have Benoit with us here, so can we hear your side of the story? Because, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the same story, but from different angles and how people handle it. So, go ahead.
Taking this one, yeah, this one is working. On my side, I was not inside the Bataclan hall because I'm living just in front of the exit doors of the Bataclan. If I'm pretty sure that many of you have seen this video of people getting out of the Bataclan, and I'm just living in front of the several windows where some of the terrorists stay during many hours. And it was probably 15 minutes before 10 o'clock in the evening. I heard this kind of strange noises very close to firecrackers, and I opened the window and I saw people just running out of the Bataclan, pulling corpses, and a lot of people injured. And my first reaction was not to tweet. I want to be clear. My first reaction was to call the emergency number. And again, the first step was, okay, what is the right number? Is it 11? Is it 17? Is it 112? It took probably a few seconds. I called the police, and I was not able to talk to anyone. And during probably many minutes, for me it was like hours, it was like, please hold the line, please hold the line. So the only reaction for me was okay. So just after I decided to to check again, open the window. I saw again people jumping out outside of the Bataclan, etc. Say, okay, I have to do something. In the meantime, I protect my family because I'm a young father with a young baby, and we decided just to lie down on the floor. I tweet because it was the only way to communicate outside. And the last thing is because I had to run in the room of our baby to take the teddy bear because it was a way to give her more protection. And this time I saw one of the shooters, and he shot our building. Our neighbor was killed in his apartment. And I remember what my father said, because he was part of the special forces in French army. If something is happening, stay away of any windows. And we just spent 2 or 3 hours probably, lie down with our face on the ground with the baby, just waiting, listening people crying, probably people dying, listening the attacks, listening the assault, living the explosions. And the day after we stayed, I don't know, all the day inside our apartment, because for many reasons police didn't authorize us to go outside. And on the Sunday we got this kind of authorization to go outside. It was just a nightmare. It was just horrible to walk in the street when you are living, where you are thinking that you are safe, and it was full of blood. And it's clear that it was quite, I don't know how to explain that. And it's clear that my first reaction was to warn people, say, please stay outside of the Bataclan. And continue to explain what is happening until I saw the first policeman coming. And I say, okay, now it's fine. My job is just to protect the family. And stop to tweet, because I saw we don't know what the terrorists will be able to do just after that. And for example, if they have decided to escape from the Bataclan, the first exit door was the door of our apartment.
It was your door, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think what for me is very interesting is listening to a citizen facing the situation that he needs to call emergency services. And he has a dilemma. Do I call police first, or do I call the ambulance number first? Which is a dilemma everyone is faced during such a situation. And that's why we should not put the burden on the citizen to know 3 different numbers and make the decision which number do I call, but have one number, 112, a European emergency number. And I think from what we hear right now, the message comes so clear why this is important and why EENA's work is important. But I want to hear about some other important work. I want to hear from Sylvain and how come the hashtag Port Ouvert came to as an idea.
Yeah, it's working. So as a lot of Parisians this night, I wasn't around, but I could have been, basically. I could have been having dinner with my niece in the neighborhood. I could have stayed at work in the neighborhood. I could have go out in the neighborhood. I've been living in the neighborhood for 10 years, so I know it very well. But I happened to be at my place when it happened, and one of the people, I don't know if it's you, Benoit, but a friend of mine on Facebook, I wanted to post a photograph of the dinner I've made for myself, very proud of my new vegetarian recipe. But I found out that one of my friends posted a photo of the front of the Bataclan saying very weird stuff about police is coming, shoots are fired, don't know much about it. So I wanted to know what was happening, and as I've done earlier the same year with the Charlie Hebdo attacks, I went on Twitter. I didn't, for the following days, I didn't watch the TV or anything, just went on Twitter and Facebook to look around. And what I saw was a very confusing message, nothing clear anywhere. Everybody was tweeting pretty much what they wanted other people to know. and pretty fast came the need for help and the offer for help. Basically, it just started like that. A little after 9:10, something like that. I read a tweet saying, if you're in danger, please come to this place, Rue Oberkampf, I will open my door, or something like that. Someone else saying, is there anyone who can give me shelter? I was kicked out of a restaurant next to Bataclan, I'm scared. And basically, what I did was 120 signs, and that's pretty much all I did. You get the second tweet, because my first idea was, okay, let's tell people advices. I'm not a security guy. I can't heal wounds. I'm not a surgeon or anything. I couldn't help another way. I was a couple of kilometers from there. So what I did was just giving advice to people on Twitter, like don't run into danger, don't play hero, wait for the authority police to tell you how many people have been hurt, or what are the needs for blood or anything. And at one moment I saw those two tweets and I said, okay, if you can give help or need help, geolocate yourself. And then I told myself, all right, you've got guys with AK-47 shooting everyone around in the neighborhood, you maybe don't know it, you're trying to run away from danger. Are you really gonna look for geolocalized tweet on an app in order to find help or not? It's gonna take ages. So a couple of seconds after, I sent a second tweet telling myself I'm gonna help create a place where they can eventually meet. And on Twitter, places are semantics. So I created a hashtag. And the only idea I'm proud of is Porte Ouverte, because it was a good message. It's not, I'm scared the shit out of myself, or it's not, I'm gonna die, please help me. It's Porte Ouverte, open door, like open arm, like, so it's open, it's positive. And what I did then was just going away from it and doing as many people away from the event did. Asking for my friends, asking for relatives, on Facebook, on Twitter, by phone. Of course, it was just completely jammed and no one could have a single text message reaching another cell phone in Paris. So it was pretty paradoxical, but the fastest way to communicate at this time was not cellular phones themselves, but it was mobile internet. It was the fastest going service you could have in Paris. It went on for hours and hours, and basically around midnight a guy made a map, and another one told me, well, you're looking for the guy behind Porte Ouverte, it's at Sylvain Lacroix. I was surprised myself, because basically I just did a tweet, not much, and everything was made by the Twitter users. Everything. People retweeted my message, but it was not the most retweeted message. The most retweeted message were the offerings and the demand for help. I had a friend who has a bar, and he said, I'm next to the place. Can you send a message? You've got a bigger reach than I do. I have 14,000 followers, so he told me, please tell people they can go to my bar. And basically, the tweet I made to say, if you're in the 10th district, go to La Petite Chaufferie. This tweet, giving help and pointing at a place for help, was more retweeted than my advices for security, as many other offerings were retweeted. And another thing I'd like to add is, there are not only French people in Paris, it's one of the most visited places. So when you're a tourist in this place, you can get pretty lost in this case of emergency. And a lot of people fast translated the hashtag. It became open door, it became another version in Spanish, in Chinese. I already saw a fellow journalist who translated it in Portuguese. And it went on, and it lived by itself, and evolved in order to be as helpful as can be. And it's only around midnight that I learned it has been used more than 300,000 times around, without any single media, any single authority retweeting it or making it pass. So it was 100% grassroots.
Thank you.
And basically the only people, official, who used it before midnight was the Moroccan Minister for Tourism, saying, "Thank you very much. Porte Ouverte made my daughter and my wife safe." That was one of the only officials who used it eventually.
Sylvain, thank you very much. I think the important thing to know, I believe what helped, you sound like I did nothing. You did something, and I think your journalist background helped you in that. And I want to point that out. It comes out as you speak, that your journalist background helped you finding the right words. That's an important message as well. Now, as I go to Tom has a title called Public Policy Manager, but I have to tell you, Tom has heard the sound of gunfire before, but also in his role now in Twitter, I'd like to give him the floor to explain how is Twitter responding to events like that. You heard from citizens how important the medium is. Also during the Belgian attack, we had the retweet from the Prime Minister, use social media, don't use the phones. So what's the role of Twitter? How do you respond? What type of data are you collecting? How do you learn out of these? How we should learn out of these?
Thank you. So we'll just step back for a minute and be very clear that, we're an internet company, we're a social media company. We're not an emergency response company. We are not a disaster response agency. We're not first responders. So much like everything else that has happened on Twitter, any of the innovations, this wasn't us sitting in a room in San Francisco trying to figure out cool things to do. What we call our disaster response program is a direct result of what people are doing on the platform. So much like every innovation on Twitter, like the @reply, like the hashtag, these aren't things that Twitter came up with. These are things our users started doing, and we decided to make it easier, better, more powerful, and make it function better. So when my boss asked me and my colleagues to create a disaster response team, it's really about figuring out ways to make information work better on the platform. So when you look at, and this slide's a little busy, and I'll explain this in greater detail tomorrow, but I really wanted to pull back and explain what we do. People already use Twitter to communicate. Governments already use Twitter to surface critical information. First responders use it to coordinate, all the way up to news agencies use it to get information around the world. Right? This is happening without us doing anything. So how do we make that easier? How do we make that better? How do we make it easier for police and government to get the most critical information out and reduce the noise so that it is useful? There's a couple things that we can do. And there's 7 things really. We can use the Twitter accounts that we own to help push the right and verified information. We can use our ads platform in a variety of cases to help nonprofits not just put out information about response, but also coordinate amongst themselves and do that and geo-target that information. We can ask our VIPs. During the Nepal earthquake, the Nepal Quake Relief hashtag, which is what everyone was using to organize the information, it was doing well until at one point it just spiked. And I'm trying to figure out where this spiked. And I'm not that culturally into boy bands, so I didn't really understand. I saw this one tweet use the hashtag, and it exploded. And I remember being in my office, sitting next to our media team, and I said, "Who the hell is Harry Styles?" Apparently he's in a boy band of some note, which everyone freaked out, but it taught us that, having @Twitter France or @Twitter India tweet something is useful. Having @random football, cricket, boy band star tweet something with 30 million followers, way more useful. And so what it does is it surfaces the best information to the top, and so we're working with our partners for that. We are also using our prompting system, which is very relevant to Paris and to Brussels. So when you open Twitter, we have the ability to put a prompt on the top of your screen every time you open Twitter. Go back more. Yeah, I'll go into that. and direct it to one government account that has the best information. Now, when it comes to a tactical event, like the shootings in Paris and the attacks in Brussels, this is really what's critical. Because there's different levels of things you can do for events that you know are going to happen, like a hurricane or a wildfire or a flood, and then events that happen like earthquakes and industrial accidents. But tactical incidents are special. It requires speed, and the thing that we can do is put the most critical information up at the top and facilitate people to communicate like they did with Open Doors. So that's really what we can do. And from someone who has spent a little bit of time, or much of my life actually as a soldier, during a tactical event I understand that when you're responding, you're going to do the easiest thing that you are the most trained that is comfortable. So this isn't about us creating something new, this is about allowing first responders and users to do and get the information that they need so they can survive and get the information that's critical. So, next slide. So what we did, in addition to a couple other things on the back end of the platform, what we did is that we very quickly deployed what we call UMF, or User Messaging Framework, which is a terrible name for just a prompt at the top. And so working with the Paris police, and having an established relationship with them, we were able to quickly tell anybody that there's an attack ongoing. If you need information, go to this account. And as you can see, which I can't quite see that far, but what it did is it drove traffic to that account. And that's important. Like, Twitter is great because you can get live information about anything, but the problem is you don't always get the most accurate information. So what this does is this allows us to push people to an official account where they have information, and we use this with Crisis Center BE in Brussels as well. And so what we saw is while you were able to get the full depth of what's happening in the community, if you needed to know the exact information of where to go, who to call, what are the right numbers, what is the official information coming from the government, coming from the police, this gave you a place to go and do that. And so for events like attacks, we're able to do some things on the platform that help people surface the right information. But also really, hopefully it helps our users communicate with each other and also communicate with the world. One thing that I do want to mention is that, phone lines are going to be jammed, data networks could be jammed. One thing you can also do, if you text 40404 anywhere in the world, I think other than Cuba, you're actually tweeting. So in places in remote Southeast Asia, there's actually have set up response and rescue networks where you can tweet your location via text message, because Twitter was an SMS-based service from birth, and you will get rescued. And so it's an alternative to official communication, but it has become critical backup infrastructure in cases like this.
Can you repeat the number?
40404.
Okay. And just because you said you cannot read long enough,
yeah,
I have my glasses, so it's important to see that the police account from France, it had 35-something followers before, and during the prompt it added 144,000 followers, and now it's a 240K followers today. Same with the Crisis Center in Belgium, 46,000 before the prom. It added 45,000 during the prom, and now it's more than 24,000 followers. So, a very important message there. Thank you, Tom. I think that's important to realize. I have another question. Discussing with some of those guys last night, one thing that came up is fake accounts that are trying to imitate people and give information, give hate messages, give whatever. How do we deal with that? What's your thoughts?
These things reported. The great thing about Twitter is that's an open platform for free expression. The bad thing is that's a totally open platform for free expression. So, really anything, almost anything goes. But we do not allow people to pretend to be other people on the platform. So you can, what you do is you report it as impersonation. Usually, and not always, it's handled within a day or two. But keep in mind, there are 500 million tweets every single day. That is a staggering amount of information. What that means is that the 1 in a million screw up, or the 1 in a million chance, happens 500 times a day around the world. So, understand that, we are completely reliant because you cannot monitor that much information proactively. It just isn't technologically or physically possible. We are reliant on the community to report to our army of people in Dublin and in San Francisco to help take those accounts down. And like I said, it works, even if it works 99% of the time, that still leaves thousands of errors, if not tens of thousands of errors a day. So ask for a little bit of patience.
Okay, but the message is you do block accounts that are fake if the guy who has the original account proves his identity. That's
Yeah, thousands a day. And I know Benjamin and I talked last night at the bar about it. Like occasionally things get screwed up. And occasionally also to protect people from falsely reporting, we have very strict standards. So sometimes you might have someone, and I don't know, I have to actually look into what happened with you. Sometimes the burden of proof hasn't been met. So we have to always balance between protecting our users and protecting the ability of expression. So like I said, I'm not entirely sure what happened with your account, and I'm going to look into that today, but it's not always automatic, so we require people to report and verify, and then we can investigate.
Thank you very much. Alexandra, let me introduce you by saying that you're the Senior Digital Communication Consultant at Digital Maniac, which supports local European and global organizations, their digital communication strategy. And that includes EENA sometimes, pro bono, thank you very much. Provide us an overview of how emergency services and authorities tweeted that day. How did they behave? And also, I did mention Brussels, so if you want to include Brussels into that, that would be very useful.
Yes, hello everybody. I'd like to go on an emergency service perspective, because we've heard testimonials, we've heard how the tool works, and I think it's good for emergency services to have a step back to what I can do as an emergency service when something like this occurs in my town. And what we saw between Paris and Brussels, because there is clearly a progression of how social media can be used for the better way possible during these kind of events, that we can see now, and you have some tweets from Paris attacks. First, in Paris, people and official emergency services try to launch some alert messages. Please don't use phone lines. Please be clear of this. Please do not retweet unconfirmed information and follow this account. That was a very good first step about, yes, be careful about the information that is being broadcasting in the network and what is being pushed. Then, what I call in the event phase, because there are different phases in an event, I'm going to show you. There are two important phases in that kind of events. The information phase or event phase. That's when the event occurs, people want to know what's going on. What is going on, where is it going on? And they start to open their Twitter, their Facebook, any social tools. They look on TV also, and they say, okay, this is happening, where is it happening? And very quickly we have hashtags spread. For instance, in Brussels, the first hashtag was Zaventem, because it's the name of the locality of the airport. It wasn't Brussels attacks, because first it was explosion in Zaventem. Then, when the first journalists got here, you've got Brussels coming in, because it's more than just the airport. And then when you have the second bomb in the subway, you have Brussels attacks, because it's becoming clearer and clearer that this is a terrorist attack. So, as emergency services, to spread your messages, you have to be very aware on where are people having conversations online, and to spread your messages in the conversation. Just jump in and say, okay, please don't retweet any unconfirmed information, please try to stay off the phones, try to contact people through through WhatsApp or through Facebook or through Twitter. Please use social media to contact people to leave the landline free. The second phase, and in the first phase, the development phase, you're also looking for informational sources. That's where the prompt is a very good idea because it helps people to follow the right information into the mess of all messages spread in the scattered units. The second phase is the organization phase, and that we saw with Sylvain, for instance. People try to help, people want to do things to help other people, and they try to organize themselves. They try to share the burden, to share the compassion with other people. So that's how we got Pray for Paris, that's how we got Porte Ouverte, Open House. People want to share and to help other people. And as emergency services, you have to know what's happening and how people try to organize themselves, and maybe try to, if you have the team to do that, trying to help them to organize themselves. And that's what we'll talk with Irache in a moment. So basically, and we'll see this, I think, in the workshop tomorrow, there are 2 or 3 things to do when something like this occurs from an emergency service point of view. Quickly give safety instructions and help to follow good stakeholders. We've seen the Police Nationale, the Crisis Center Belgium. Yes, try to identify and try to be identified as a reliable source of information and give simple and clear information. Second, spread good and fact-checked information. And third, it's good to coordinate local actions if there are local actions taking place, or if you have work with through volunteers already, try to use them to crowd-seed information from the field to the emergency services. I think that's the way we must think about it.
Correct, thank you very much. Okay, Irache is the International Solution Manager for Emergency Management within Athos IT Solutions. But that's not why we like you. We like you because you've been a supporter of EENA for many, many years. You've been co-chair of the Operations Committee for many years, advisory board. You're always there. Thank you for that, putting up with me. But the reason I want you to be here is for the Virtual Operations Support Team, VOST. And how does that work? What is that? How does that work? Why Virtual Support Operations Team is important in a situation like that?
Thank you, Dimitri. Well, just to give a bit of a background on what the Virtual Operations Support Groups, or what in France are called the VSOF groups, volunteer groups are, they are digital volunteers. They are part of what it's called digital humanitarians. Their background mostly is from emergency services, from communications experts, IT experts, that know what they're talking about, know what they're doing, and they have a passion for social media. And they have a strong presence in social media. How they are organized, it differs from country to country. So for instance, in France, they're not permanently active, although we can see activity in social media every day, but they activate for events, like for instance for the Paris attacks. One important thing to mention is that VSOF is quite a new organization. It's 2 years old, more or less, in France. It's 3-4 years old worldwide. It started in the US, came to Spain, and it's spreading in Europe. What happened in France during the Paris attacks, it was the first time they activated as support for security forces. So their role wasn't that much on the front line. What they did is that, and same for Brussels, more or less it was the same activity. A group of more or less 45 volunteers with a team leader got activated. They had a schedule of shifts and times they could dedicate to the events and so on. And what they did was to split tasks. Some would go to Facebook, some would go to Twitter, some would go to Instagram, to YouTube, to Periscope, and would be analyzing social media, looking what was being posted, looking for hoaxes, and structuring that information, putting it together in a Google Doc, that they only share with authorities that they have contact with. They were actually filtering and structuring information from social media real time to the authorities. In the case of Paris, they were working with the Ministry of Interior Crisis Center and with the Government Information Service, I think it's called SEG in French, and the Google Doc and the summary table with all the tweets, the hoaxes, the fake accounts or the accounts that should be reported, and also using tools like crowd maps to geotag all the information. And they would communicate using WhatsApp with a dedicated chat room. I would like to thank Ludovic Lux and Marina Timen from Vsov that kindly provided me with details of information about how they acted. They were active from the 13th of November, very shortly after the attacks. Their first tweet was around 11 anyways, you can see it there on top, and it was focused on don't spread rumors, just look information in official sources, verified information. And during the 3 days that they were activated, they passed on to the dormant stage on the 16th of November for Paris. They gave also advice about how to speak about the attacks to your children from a psychological point of view, because one of the volunteers is a psychologist expert in crisis situations as well. In the case of Brussels, the Vsov teams had been working with the Belgian Ministry of Interior Crisis Center and the Team D5, which is also another group of digital volunteers, but this time promoted by the Belgian government. The structures were already in place, so what we can see from that is that in the Brussels attack, the communication has been quicker, more structured, and more, I would say, accurate and better, to be honest, if I have to compare, than for the Paris attacks from the official sources. The Crisis Center of Belgium was tweeting, putting posts in Facebook in 3 languages from the very beginning, and even until now they are posting updates. And in Belgium, Vsov was supporting both the Crisis Center in Belgium and the Crisis Center in France from the Ministry of Interior. They were both working together.
Okay, that's very important. Yeah, during the Belgian attack, we saw a lot of things translated in 3 languages, which is something that sometimes we don't see in other situations. Sylvain, I want to go back to you. In real life, you're a freelance reporter.
In real life, yes. But also online.
Online. And on ecology, energy, and new technologies. But instead of asking you about new technologies, I'll ask you about old technologies, meaning old media. How do you think old media responded to the attacks? And in particular, we have the 24 news channels that want to have news to report on a 24-hour basis. So you're seeing the same image again and again and again and again. What's your thoughts about the role of traditional media during the attacks?
As I said, and I'll be very transparent about this, I haven't turned on a TV during the 3 following days of the November 30th attack, as I did during the Charlie Hebdo attacks and the following days. It was a choice, but basically one of the most striking things was that, as you say, newspapers and even digital media reacted. Not much of them acted eventually. It's not their role, basically, but for example, just a quick thing. Porte Ouverte, the hashtag I created during the November 13th attack, I didn't have any news from French journalists for 24 hours. Only one website called for me and asked, "Are you the creator?" I said, "Maybe, I don't know. Who told you that?" It was a guy from BuzzFeed, the French version of BuzzFeed. He was the only French journalist who contacted me within 24 hours. But in a night, I've received almost 10 demands from Chinese media. And no, not kidding, not kidding. A couple of demands from German media, a lot of interest also from Scandinavian media, and the French journalists came only like 5th or 6th in a row. So it doesn't get interest to them, basically, this reaction. It was already on the next step, being, okay, what's going on, what has been going on, etc. And it's very interesting that the people held, the users held the response to this on the basic emergency level. And that's something very important about Brussels, because basically what I thought during the Brussels attack, I was shocked, because I have many friends in Brussels, including Alexandre here, to be transparent, one again. And I have many friends, and basically people came to me through digital messages telling, Sylvain, we need you to launch Porte Ouverte again. And I said, okay, let me take a phone booth and I get my super suit of Porte Ouverte guy. But basically, no one made this, no one pushed a hashtag except Open House. And that's the second important thing, is that basically I launched Porte Ouverte, and one of the first messages I got in Brussels was, you know, if you're doing Porte Ouverte, non-French speaking people in Brussels won't use it. So even in case of emergency, you've got all these old barriers and limits that impose themselves. And even during emergencies, it's the same limits and barriers that come between old media and new format. And it's very striking, because basically all the media who came to me wanted two things. And I think that it's another problem. They all wanted to know my story, which is the most boring story ever, if you don't include the recipe I prepared before sending it to you. Basically, it's the story of a guy in front of his computer not knowing what to do to help people in danger. So it's just that. And they all wanted the same story. So I was just a face to the event. And the second thing they wanted was me to help them do their job and find testimonies from people who lived it. And I said, I'm not their agent. I'm not the Porte Ouverte agent. They will give you their testimony or not. It's their choice. I'm not here to make choice instead of them. I'm not the head of a political party called Porte Ouverte. I'm not the head of an association. I just made a damn tweet, no more. They did most of the job. And I think that those reactions are really clear to what's going on with the media. I have a friend who has a friend, as many people in Paris, unfortunately, who was in the hospital, away from a boyfriend who was in another hospital. She woke up without communicating with him. He was in a coma, so it was an awful situation. And the only way journalists from TV, I won't tell the name of the channel out of respect, to make her talk, the last thing she thought about was, maybe it can be therapeutic to you. And I found it really shocking, because this woman was just in a distress. I mean, it's, you know, no means no. So, yes. And I think that in the digital way and in the current way, you saw a big misunderstanding of what has happened, what was happening, and what will be left of this event in the opinion and in people's mind, I think. But I wasn't on the place. I didn't live such a traumatic experience as my two neighbors here. I just saw it from this perspective also, as I'm a journalist, but as your panel said in the titles, it's strange because I know Benoit from New Tech too, but in front of this kind of events, we are all citizens, and I'm no more a citizen. I just gave the only skill I had to give during this event, which was 10 years on social media, and I hope I did some good, but I only did 120 signs, that's all I did.
10 years and now, I see you tweeting as you sit there. Alex, a quick word.
Yeah,
traditional media.
Just to add something very quickly, and then to go on Sylvain's side. When we created Open House in Brussels after Porte Ouverte, we saw that journalists were only interested about yes, it is showing solidarity. That's good image for Brussels after the attacks. And I'm surprised because now media have so many ways to use data to create things. They can create things on their website. We see what's happening with the Panama Leaks, and we have a lot of things created by the media to organize data. And I was shocked that they were not able to create something that could help people, saying, okay, this is happening, if you need something, go, yeah, this is maybe the story, but more powerful than the story, we created a tool that can help you to find a safe place or anything. And I was really disappointed by that media only went on the emotional way and on the, yeah, that's good, that's, people are trying to organize that themselves. It's a good thing, and not trying to take the burden, to do their part, to do their share of the helping people. And that was really a disappointment for me, and I hope that it will change.
Okay. A quick question to Tom. Tom, officially, you're the Twitter Global Disaster Response Program lead. A message to the Twitter community in case of disaster, a simple, single message.
I know this is sort of ironic. It's supposed to be at 140 characters or less.
Hashtag.
You know, we can help communicate information in real time, and that's what we do. You know, Twitter exists to help its users express themselves, and this isn't just about talking about what great recipe you did, or what cool movie you just saw, or whatever the hell it is that Kanye West thinks he's talking about. It's also about providing and empowering people, governments, nonprofits, to put out critical information, and not to be the communication infrastructure, but to help be a backup to that communication infrastructure. And if we can help that, if we can move the needle on that and improve that just a little bit, then that's a huge win for everybody.
Thank you very much. Let me go back to Benoit, I think, and finish this panel by asking you, as a survivor and as a citizen, what do you think of social media now? What would you like to be different? What would you think you could have done differently nowadays? What's your thoughts, again, about using social media during such an event?
Many things, probably, just to reply to the questions that you asked to Tom, because with my hat of owner of Twitter account, I think the first reaction of someone facing this kind of event is first, protect yourself, protect others, and then don't put your life in danger for a tweet. That's my recommendation. Because I remember...
Say that again, please.
Yeah, but it's clear that it's the first reaction, because I remember the day after the attack when the police came to the apartment asking, hey, did you take pictures, videos of the attack? I said, no. Okay. I said, you know, my only reaction was to protect my family and not to take any picture or video, because I did not look to create the buzz. It was not my objective. And it's clear that I think a lot of people could have this kind of, yeah, clearly. And that's why my first recommendation is probably protect yourself, protect others, and don't put your life in danger just for a tweet or for a post on Facebook or on Google+, whatever the social network. That's my first. The second thing that I just highlight is we talked a lot about how to communicate using social network during this kind of events. I think we need to think a step further, because just thinking that first by, I think probably 2020, half of the world population will have a smartphone. Not a phone, a smartphone. Right now, the most top used apps on the world is WhatsApp, Facebook messaging, Snapchat. So communication apps. A lot of people and young people are not making phone calls. They are making direct messaging. In the US, some mobile operators like AT&T just launched this kind of offer, including only data, and not anymore phone calls. Meaning how the emergency services will be able to receive this kind of phone calls when people are not using anymore phone calls. And I think it's a huge challenge for the whole emergency services. There is also a good opportunity because when it comes to the mobile world, apps can have an access to better, for example, data, like location data. So we could imagine that emergency services could have a better access to this kind of data. But my feeling is, right now, beyond this use of social network for communication, and I could also talk a lot about journalists asking me, for example, I remember this request from a British channel asking me if I can host a TV team in my living room at 11 o'clock the night of the attack, so in the middle of the attacks. I said, hey guys, I'm in the middle of the attacks, but the terrorist is just in front of my door. I cannot host anyone, so yeah, I can talk a lot about this kind of example. But yeah, there is this part of communication and use of social network for communication and how to improve the way the emergency services are communicating with the victims, the witnesses, and other people. And the other side say how we can use now, beyond the social networks, all the mobile ecosystem to turn the emergency services into a better, smart emergency services will be the next challenge, because just think that probably in the next 3 or 5 years, most people will just use apps and will not use any more phone calls.
Thank you, Benoit. Benjamin, can I ask you the same question about social media? Your thoughts, what do you think you would have done better or different or worse or whatever? Social media is becoming very, very important, as we saw. You used it, your thoughts?
I think more than anything I used it because for me it was a way to be efficient. More than anything, it was just like fast. I knew that I could reach a lot of people, but of course it has like a two-faced beast, because I receive a lot of threats after it on my Facebook account. I receive like people who have been commenting or my post receive threats also. So of course there is this side that you have to consider, but for me it's just an amazing way also to like earn some time and choose for me, okay, I was born with the social media, so it was quite easy and natural to use it, but it's more like I couldn't have the time to call somebody and take the time to explain and wait for it. It's just like I only use something like this to be able to be fast and to be connected with the world really fast. And then I was just counting on the world to like pass my message to the right authority, and I thought that, okay, if just 2 persons saw my message, a bit more saw it of course, but then pass it to the police, at some point the police will know what happened, and that was just, so for me it's just something amazingly powerful, that not just the young generation should use, but of course like all the emergency services, because nobody, in France the number is not really known yet, the 122, the 112, sorry, and I think it's really important to be able to have both things, the number and something on the side, because I think that, yeah, not everybody has a phone, but a lot of people has it, and a lot of people are using it, so I think it's an amazing thing to use, and really useful and really powerful.
Okay, what you said about receiving threats through social media, that's another interesting aspect. Your feelings about that? You continue using social media, so you're not deterred from using social media. But it's a dark side of social media. So how you responded? Do you just ignore it? Do you actually get angry and you had to respond? Or?
Just to be clear, somebody created a fake Facebook page on my name the night of the attack, and somebody else created a Twitter account. I already have one, but somebody created another one. And they spread, of course, the post that I made, but also some other posts that the guy created. It was nothing really crazy, but just the guy was saying, pray for me, I'm scared, and give me some love and stuff like that, which I didn't say. So. But in the beginning, I was just happy about it because my name was all over the media, but nobody knew my face, and the guy put his face, so I was okay, it's going to protect me, it's a good thing. And then after, of course, after some days, when I was like starting to sleep a bit more, And I was just really angry at it, and I was just like, who can think of something like this to get some likes and some attention? So of course it's really bad, but I think the balance is really on the right side.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's your time to ask questions. And I see the two microphones that the ladies, could one of you bring the microphone here, please, to the gentleman standing up? He was the fastest one.
Thank you. Jeppe Jebsen.
Please identify yourself.
Jeppe Jebsen.
Thank you.
I happened to be in Zaventem Airport when it happened. As a citizen, go out and buy yourself a big battery pack. Because with all this activity on your smartphone, you run out of power very fast. Second good idea, to the officials who are planning this in major sites, set up a Wi-Fi hotspot in the place where you channel people into the hangar. Because when you have 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people in the hangar waiting for hours, it is a good thing to have that Wi-Fi hotspot to take the capacity. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Not a question, but very practical information for consideration. The battery is really a good one, and I think you will agree, being on the floor for like 2-3 hours and having the battery drained, that could be a problem. Yes, please.
Should each country have a Twitter account at 112 France, for example, for use in an emergency? It strikes me that one of the issues is that we have potentially multiple Twitter accounts that people might go to in case of an emergency. And that actually if there was a single Twitter account for each country reflecting the 112 number, that actually that would be an easy go-to place for Twitter to send people to in each country when there was an event. And actually, it also helps deal with the very interesting point of the data-only phones and a way of reporting incidents as well.
Thank you very much for the suggestion. The gentleman in the back that wanted the microphone, yes.
Thank you. Boštjan Tavčar, Minister of Defense of the Republic of Slovenia. This solution could be one kind of reverse emergency, 112 call. But you have to know that Twitter is two-way communications. This means that these communications go through data channels on most wireless networks. And this communication could also use a terrorist for exchange information for terrorist attack and also for triggering the bombs. What is your comments about that?
Tom?
Yeah, no, absolutely right. I mean, just like any other medium, you have to be responsible with what information you're putting out there. You know, I was watching the Paris attacks on Periscope because there was a guy outside the perimeter of the club using Periscope, and it struck me as someone who, as a former soldier, it really struck me at how close he was to the police perimeter. And that, you know, while it is great to be able to have that level of access to information, it's also really unsafe for first responders to have their perimeter being filmed and posted online. And so what we have to do, this is part of it, is that we have to have good communications by police and first responders and procedures and say, hey, this is not okay, get out of the perimeter. You have to have a good inner and outer cordon. And so part of that is just procedural stuff. But also, as citizens, we have to think responsibly about what it is we're tweeting and what it is we're putting out there, and what information is critical, and what information has value for the public, and what information might be putting people in jeopardy.
Alex?
Yeah, to go in that way, what happened in Belgium after Paris attacks, and what happened again, when the police asked where there was police operations to catch terrorists that flew into Belgium, police at a point said, okay, please stop tweeting about where are our forces right now, and please don't spread the information because you might not be helping us. what did the Belgians do that was fantastic? They started to post cat pictures all over Twitter. So using the hashtag of, I don't remember what the hashtag was. It was Brussels lockdown, Brussels lockdown, Brussels lockdown, and you had all these cats, this police cat, this spreading all around Twitter, and yeah.
Okay, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
But you have all of these people saying, okay, we're not helping terrorists, and you will flood Twitter with any cat picture we can find just to dilute information. If something is released by someone we don't know, we want this to be flooded into unuseful tweets, and that was really brilliant of kind of reaction. So that is another reaction you can have to jam, citizen jamming the discussion, and to avoid to have information spoiled.
Thank you. Iratze, a quick comment, please.
Very quick comment. First of all, I would like to say that the police in Belgium did a great job answering all the cats that were tweeted. The response to it was genius. And secondly, I think social media analytics is something that needs to be taken into consideration by emergency services. It's an intensive thing, and it takes time and money, but it has to be done because people are attending.
Sylvain, you had a point?
Thank you. It's funny because one of the first reactions I had to the tweet where I said Porte Ouverte was, great job, you're getting targets for the terrorists. And first, I didn't know what to answer. No, but it's just a reaction. It's not regarding to your specific intervention. And first, I got a little unpleasant because I didn't know what to respond. And I said very candidly, I reacted like that. I didn't know what to do. And after, I answered back and said, okay, you know what? The more people use it, the more useless it is to terrorists, because the more door you open, the less they know where to shoot. So basically, if you flood them, as happened in Brussels, if you flood them with solidarity, with help, with love, I may say, sorry to use that word in this context, but basically is you do whatever you can for your fellow human, Parisian friend or not, or just people in danger. If you flood them with help, they just can't do anything. And
yes,
that's one of the reasons I think that it should be used.
Thank you. Can I give the floor to Benjamin to finish?
I just wanted to say one thing that I forgot on the downside of the social media thing is when I did my post, I was conscious about one thing is that I was begging for help and I was calling for the police, but I was also giving maybe information to the terrorists, so I had to be the most accurate I could for telling them where I was, but not too precisely because I didn't know if somebody was on the outside and could give them information. So this is really something that we have to think about. Is that
I'm in the third toilet at the left. Is
yeah,
that a good idea? Okay, thank you very much. That was a very interesting session. We have a next session outlining how Airbnb Global Disaster Relief Program supports citizens during emergencies, and this will be chaired by Dieter. But before going there, I'd like to do something. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Okay, let's go to the next session. Thank you.